Let's decide on a topic or something. What do you have in mind?
To talk about right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you said that. I want to ask you how you feel about the Warframe videos doing really well, because I know you said you want to be doing lots of different games, but you know that doing Warframe will get you the views, and then you did
Mm-hmm.
Warframe and it got you the views,
Yeah. All right.
which I
So
imagine was bittersweet because.
right.
Anyway, go ahead.
So um, I think, I think, I so all this time when I was doing YouTube, and you know how I like to analyze things, but I've
Uh
never analyzed YouTube. Like I never really put in the effort. So only recently I started experimenting. So I realized things like I no longer have my Warframe videos in what do you call this, playlists. And then in fact I try to give as little information to YouTube as possible, that the video that I post is a Warframe video. So I have a theory that one of the reasons that a lot of people, when they do different content, they get different, like a huge gap, like a lot of people don't watch it. But I also feel like it's because of YouTube. Like YouTube know that, oh, this is not related to something that most people want to watch, so they stop pushing
Aha.
it. Yeah.
Ooh, that's not a that's I believe that theory.
Yeah.
I don't think YouTube does that on purpose either. I think that's an emergent property of the learning algorithm. I think the
Mm-hmm.
learning algorithm has just noticed that when you
Yeah.
switch the topic of your channel, the video is not gonna do well, so YouTube doesn't recommend it. Huh.
So
That's like I'm convinced that is true. That is the fastest I've been convinced of something in a very long time. You're fucking right. Like I don't care if that's actually true. Like that I'm taking that as a fact.
I saw, I forgot which content creator was it, but he makes alternate. So like he likes to play this new game. So what he does is he make a Warframe video, then he make one of that game, then make a Warframe video, then make another one of that game. Which I feel like it's kind of, it almost seem like a cry for help, like.
I'm sorry. It's mean to laugh at that, just the way that you were. That is exactly the wording that came into my head.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I feel like maybe we're like going around this the wrong way. Like I think I talked to you about this, where we need to start
Mhm.
making the video more about us and less about the game.
You did. This is like my entire career is based around that idea. I could not possibly agree more. You were talking to the world's leading authority on being in the Warframe community and making your videos about something other than like just Warframe, like
Uh,
extrapolating it to some other thing. Like I could not possibly agree more with you.
you already did the whole face reveal thing, so your face is already like, it's already unique. It's already out there. So far the most I have is like a hand reveal.
I liked the hand reveal, by the way. I was
uh,
like, look, part of Zelp.
yeah. Which part shall we
I
reveal next time?
oh boy.
I feel like for me, it's a little bit of a struggle. It feels more like I have to make them enjoy my personality aspect more than anything else, because I don't have anything else. If that makes sense.
It kind of does. I mean, I think part of the reason that this is the case is that, and again, like I could not possibly mean, I have only admiration for the content you were making before,
Mm-hmm.
but it is true that because you were focusing on information like that,
Mm-hmm.
that encourages the audience not to care about you as a person. It encourages them to think of you as a way to get information. And
Yeah, I agree.
by not focusing on that, I've been spending years putting effort into saying, if you just care about Warframe, if you really only care about Warframe, you don't care about me. You might think you do, but you don't, and I'm going to prove that to you.
What do you think is the most redundant content so far in Warframe?
You mean the most redundant feature that the developers have added?
Yeah,
ESO.
ESO. But ESO is such a good place to get experience though. I go there
Yeah,
all the
but
time.
you said redundant, not good. I'm farming experience in ESO right now. I'm leveling up the Shedu in ESO right now.
Uh-huh.
It's not bad, and it's not useless, but it it's like it's the same as the rest of the, it's like not a new game mode.
I thought of how what if, I don't know if it's a good idea, which is why I'm telling you so that you can tell me what you think. Um, what if they made it like two different type of endless? So let's say survival, they focus mainly on surviving. So the scaling on the enemies will be more on their damage. So the damage increase like by don't know how many folds over and over. So you have to find ways to survive the damage. Well, else another one will be like you said, where you it depends on how fast you can kill the enemy. So maybe their skilling will be more tankiness or something, and you have to find better ways to do more damage. Then you have two separate categories of Warframe that's good in two different things, in two different modes. And yeah, and then you have different unique playstyle or what do you call like combos that you can come up with, synergies with different
Yeah,
Warframe.
they're two niches, right?
Yeah.
Um,
What do
I
you think of
think part
that?
of the problem is that making enemies tankier is inherently like you could make that good. The idea that making enemies like bullet spongy, people say, the idea that that is always bad is like just people who don't understand how game design works. But it is true that you would be very hard pressed to find someone who wants tanky enemies. You know what I mean? Like we want challenging enemies, not tanky enemies. And the problem is that both of the things you're suggesting kind of don't make the enemies like harder per se. Like tankier enemies, they're harder in a specific way, and more damage is harder in a specific way. But the way that this game desperately needs enemies to be hard is how they fight, like how they fight. They need to do more interesting things to you. Like it's a horde shooter. Some of the enemies can be dumb, I understand, but like there need to be a little bit more cunning more frequently, and that is the part that they haven't gotten to do because it takes programming time, and it's challenging to program enemy AI that's compelling.
How would you fix Warframe PvP?
Oh, oh, Zelp, you don't know this, but I've been asked that question a lot of times.
Really? Oh.
Yet I don't know why. I don't know why
Okay.
people keep
So
asking
so
me
so
that.
give me your what's your
It has
best?
like nothing to do with my content. Why do people keep asking me this? Anyway, I mean, I don't mind you asking me it. I just like people are like, Zandy, you need to fix Warframe Conclave, and I'm like, I don't need to do that. Like, that is not my job.
So
Um,
maybe like why do you like it?
no, I hate it. It's
Yeah.
awful.
So why do you hate
Okay,
it and
so it's fundamentally not going to work. It's not just that I don't like it.
uh,
It's a mistaken design idea, and the reason is that
uh,
a competitive a competitive shooter is
mhm,
based around knowing where your opponents are. And
mhm,
Warframe is a game whose whole purpose is to make it so your movement can be erratic, unpredictable,
mhm,
and physics defying. So
uh,
inherently, shooting at a player operating a Warframe is preposterous. Like it's funny. It's the exact opposite of Warframe normally,
uh,
where Warframe kind of has like it has like a hard to learn, easy to master kind of difficulty curve.
I actually have the exact same feeling as you do. I feel like it would be so much better if they just remove, let's say, bullet jumping.
Sort of.
Yeah.
The thing I would push back against about the movement thing is that that's just not Warframe is the problem. Like there are things
Oh.
where you can change the balance in
Mhm.
some ways, but like removing the movement is like there's no point in it even being Warframe. You know what I mean?
Imagine, let's say you like CS:GO or Halo.
Okay.
Okay, so those games, their movements are relatively slower, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
easier to predict, and it's better for those PvP situations. If Warframe can implement that into Conclave, right? Maybe they can just come up with some silly story. Oh, the arena is taking place on a very dense, I don't know, neutron star or something, and you can't jump anymore or do some crazy
Sure.
thing. Yeah,
Some
okay.
contrivance. Yeah.
Now, then people who actually enjoy those games, CS:GO and all those things, they would think twice. Like, why would I go over there if I can play it over here? And then I have the characters design and everything that probably I would say that Warframe is way better in terms of customization than
I would say Warframe is like the best game in the entire world for customization. Yeah.
yeah. So you can
I would agree.
play your favorite skin in those kind of situations.
So I hear what you're saying. So
Mhm.
the payoff is that you could, what you're trying to say is if people like those other games, they
Mhm.
might want to play Warframe instead because
Right.
Warframe has other benefits that those games are very unlikely to be able to beat.
Right.
Like there's no way CS:GO is going to top Warframe in fashion. That is literally impossible. So,
One of the reasons why I'm kind of pushing for PvP to
yeah.
be, yeah, because PvP, like you said, is it's competitive. It's based on your skills, and it doesn't need in a weird way like content, because it is itself an end game. You get better, you polish your skill, you do you get what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can you make a summary of what yeah, a summary of PvP of what we just discussed, like your thoughts and what you think my thoughts are?
Okay, so you want PvP to be fixed. You don't just want PvP to be fixed in Warframe because, like, of course, it would be nice if it were fixed. You especially want it to be fixed because you feel that it would help with Warframe's problem of lacking an end game. It would let people do something else for a little while if they got tired of the PvE, which makes sense. And you want to fix the PvP by making it basically more like CS:GO, for lack of a better example. You want it to be boots on the ground, cover-based shooter kind of PvP. In other words, you're going to fix Warframe's PvP by removing the part of Warframe that is the problem with the PvP. Which, like that, at least from a logical perspective, that makes perfect sense. And then it will work. You could just make the exact same thing as CS:GO, and it would be the same thing as CS:GO. Cannot argue with that. Um, and your feeling is that that might work because there are people who play both games, and Warframe has the added draw of like Warframe is really cool looking. A lot of people already play Warframe for PvE. People really like a game that is all in one, stuff like that. And so you think that because of those reasons, there's a chance that even though it seems like you're just making the same game as some other game, people might play this one over that one because there are other benefits.
All right.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so now you're
Um, Okay, so I agree strongly that like if PvP could work in Warframe, it would be a good way to allow retention by letting people sort of blow off steam by doing a different mode. This is great. This is a classic game development tactic. You should give people other things to do so they don't get burnt out. That way, if they want to keep playing your game, that you don't have to risk them getting burnt out. You can have them just do something else. This is a good idea, fundamentally. But I don't think that making Warframe's PvP the same as another game's PvP is going to work because a lot of people who you're making a competition. If it were PvE, maybe, like if the game had PvP, but then you were making PvE, maybe. But because you're making PvP in a game, you're making a competition, people care a lot about competitions that just are popular. So there isn't really a lot of reason for people to go from an already popular competition to Warframe. And so the potential audience for this, like CSGO and Warframe thing, is very low, in my opinion. It's not that it doesn't kind of make sense logically, it's just that from a social perspective, like I am convinced it will not get popular. However, I do think that you can make it work by changing the premises. I don't think you have to get rid of bullet jumping. I think you can embrace what's unique about Warframe and give it more of a market share and make it feel connected to the rest of the game by focusing it on other objectives, which is already how Warframe operates overall. The PvE features us being unkillable, so it's not about killing us, it's about destroying an objective or a defense target or whatever, or the life support or something, which is a little weird, but a brilliant way to allow the player to be an invincible power fantasy space ninja while also making it like possible to fail the mission, you know?
what's the
It's
mode
not,
called again?
huh?
What's the mode called again? In Destiny, I think.
So the mode I'm suggesting with that philosophy is Gambit. There's a mode in Destiny that is called Gambit.
Mm-hmm.
That's player versus environment versus player, PvEVP.
All right. So in that sense, we have separate views of two different somewhat workable ways. Let's say we leave it down to the comments and see what they think.
Sure. I mean, I just want to be clear that I agree with you that bullet jumping is a large problem. I just disagree with you that there's any point in removing it. I'm trying to fix the problem a different way, but I strongly agree that the crux of the issue is bullet jumping. And I'm trying to find a way to make a game mode where it's manageable, whereas you're trying to eliminate
Remove
it
it,
and make
yeah.
a game mode around that. And I think it's impossible to effectively eliminate it and make a thing in Warframe that will still feel like Warframe and do well, but you don't